church family. Welcome to the ongoing conversations about international missions at Fellowship Bible Church, where you get a front row seat to what God is doing throughout the entire world. My name is Rose Lauck, and I'm going to be your host today. This is my first time, so I'm really excited to do that. And I'm excited to have with me 3 of our students who got to recently go on a trip. So I'm going to let them actually introduce themselves. So if you'll tell everybody your name and your age and maybe where you go to school, I think that'd be a great way to start.
All right. I'm Isaiah McManigle. I'm 14 and I go to Sharando.
My name is Joshua Robinson. I'm 16 and I am homeschooled with CC.
My name is Jenna Richardson. I am 14, almost 15, and I am homeschooled with Sale.
So you guys recently got to go on a trip with the church, and you went out to Arizona. Is that correct? Right? And you got to do some work projects out there. So Isaiah, do you want to tell us exactly what the trip was? When did you go, and why did you go?
So we left on Saturday, June 29th maybe? Okay. And then so we left then, and then we landed in Phoenix, and then we we ate dinner there, and then we drove 2 hours to Flagstaff, and then we stayed there the whole week.
Nice. And what did you do in Flagstaff, Joshua?
We were supposed to be there to work, and that's what we did. We did our intentions, surprisingly. A lot of us did painting. We had some people kill some books. We had
kill some books.
Kill some books.
Can you explain to us what that means?
They tried to make it sound nice, like we weren't destroying books, but they were chopping the spines off, which I had never really heard before. But they called it guillotining.
Okay.
So some of us did that, and then some of us painted. We painted some music rooms. We painted some fences. We painted some windows. We painted some little hangings and things like that.
That's cool. And Jenna, which of those projects did you participate in?
I was painting the underside of a roof for most of the week, so I got a little dirty from that. Got paint on my face and all my clothes. So yeah, I did that, and then I stained a gate that Joshua helped build.
Did you guys know everybody on the trip before you went, or were you making new friends and learning new people?
I knew everyone. I knew their name and I knew who they were, but definitely after the trip I knew them a lot better than I did going into it, and I didn't think that I would build more relationships other than my friends, but I actually did.
And what was your favorite part, Isaiah, of the whole trip?
Well, one of my favorite parts, obviously the Grand Canyon, but also just hanging out after dinner before we went to bed, just with everyone out on the basketball court. We mostly played this game called Bank, where you have to shoot, and then there's a certain amount in the bank, and if you miss, you get that, and you don't want to get any points. And so that was really fun. We played that almost every night, and we got a little crazy over it, but it was fun.
So I just want to shift our conversation a little bit from what you actually did and what was fun to some of the things that maybe you learned. So Joshua, is there some highlight that stood out to you, something that you feel like you learned about God or about other people? I know I really just put you on the spot, didn't I?
Well, yeah, that's fine. I was kind of expecting it, but I thought I learned a lot about how the community of the college itself, they're in it. They're in the middle of a neighborhood. They've built these buildings out of old houses. And, they're really just part of the community. And I learned a lot about how God uses different people in our lives and different relationships to disciple us.
Okay, so you keep saying they are part of the community. So can you explain to us, Sarah, who the they are that Josh was talking about?
I think you're talking about the students and the staff there, right?
Yeah, the students and the staff of
Indian Bible College.
Indian Bible College.
Yeah.
So you guys were on the campus of Indian Bible College, right, for the whole week, trying to help and minister to those people, right? So tell me about the kind of people that you met, Isaiah, that weren't part of our group.
Yeah. Okay. So one day we were there. They had I think it was Wednesday. They had this chapel that they have every Wednesday during the summer, and so Caleb was asked to speak at that. So he came up with a lesson on the spot, and we were there with the students who were there over the summer, and then the staff who was there too. So we did a lesson, and then we all ate lunch together, and it was really cool. There's specifically this one guy named Emmanuel, and he came over to our table when we were eating lunch, and we got to talk with him a lot, and he seemed really eager to like connect with us. He came over for lunch some of the other days too. It was just him. And it was really cool to like see, even though there are like a lot of cultural differences, how like we can connect over like fellowship and over being part of the body of God.
So Isaiah mentioned cultural differences. So Joshua, can you describe to us what you would say some of those cultural differences are?
Yeah. So, especially, we had a few interactions with the student at Indian Bible College, but through most of the week we were trying to serve them. But the relationships and the cultural differences that we had to watch out for was strong handshakes, because if a white man gives a strong handshake to a native people group or an indigenous person, it's considered intimidating, or like they're trying to dominate you.
Interesting. So I had a conversation with someone earlier. I understood there were some challenges that you guys faced as you went on this trip. So Sarah, do you want to share any of the challenges that the team faced as they were out there?
Well, yeah. So the first day we got there, it was like the next morning, and I woke up and Emma had gotten sick, and she was at the ER already. And then one of my good friends, Clara, she actually rolled out of the bunk bed the night before, and she broke her wrist and maybe her elbow. So yeah, she was also in the ER all of that day as well. And then they healed. Claire was still able to participate in projects and everything. It was just kind of a rough start to the week. And then we had another girl go to the urgent care for something with her lungs or something. And then later in the week, our van lost air conditioning. And in Flagstaff, the weather wasn't that bad, but to travel back to Phoenix, where it is like 100 degrees, it would be pretty rough to drive back without air conditioning. But thankfully, God provided, and we got another 15-passenger van with air conditioning.
So how would you say, Isaiah, how would you say you guys met those challenges? How did you see God provide? And
so honestly, mostly just getting us through them just pretty straightforwardly. Emma got better, and Clara's arm was she was still able to do a lot of stuff. She did basically the same stuff we were doing, which was pretty cool. And then just using it to help us realize that not everything goes to plan, because every single day there was something that didn't go as planned, and we just rolled through it and we got a lot of stuff done. So that was cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Joshua, what makes a kid your age give up, I don't know, how long were you gone, a week? What makes a kid your age give up a week of your summer freedom to go do something like this? What motivated you?
I thought it was really cool to travel, and not only to travel, it was also nice to serve other people and learn about God with other believers. A lot of times in the youth setting, we don't really get to do something like that. So it was really cool to be able to do something like that and learn about God.
And Sarah?
Yeah, I'd kind of have to agree. Just the thought of traveling down there and being a part of another cultural and just helping out fellow Christians.
Yeah. And Isaiah?
Yeah, basically what they said, just and spending a week together was really cool, because I feel I got closer with pretty much everyone who was on the trip, because like Jenna said, I knew everybody, but I didn't know them very well, and that was pretty cool to do that.
Now you're kind of singing one of my songs, which is, I think Christian community is really important, because I think when we're surrounded by fellow believers, then they can impart God's word to us, and they can help us stay focused and help us be more like Christ, right? So turning my thoughts that way, and I won't put any of you on the spot, I'll just ask you in general. Would any of you say my life is changed, or I am different in this way because of this trip? I know that's kind of a big question for kids your age, but do you have any thoughts on that?
I would say one of the cool things I think all of us learned is how, because through our study of Paul and how he was discipling everybody, and how you're never too young for God to work in your life, and you can still make an impact through Christ to people, even at our age. Even going on the trip helped me realize that I don't need to wait at all until I can do stuff. So
yeah, praise God. Cool. And either other, go ahead.
I was just kind of bouncing off of what Isaiah helped me with my relationships.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I was talking about, right? The importance of being in community with other believers, right? And we talk, I know kids your age, you hear a lot about peer pressure and you talk about your peers a lot. And I think that's really valuable to understand, that when we surround ourselves with groups of peers who are encouraging one another in Christ, it just makes us stronger, right? Joshua, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for the chapel on, was it Tuesday?
I think Wednesday.
Caleb did a sermon about like relationships and how different relationships like picking the right tool for the job in as far as discipleship, and that there's the mother, there's the father, and then there's the brother who's like the peer, and throughout the whole trip it was a lot of like brotherly discipleship, especially for me and some of the other guys. I think Isaiah can attest to. We spent probably every single night we were talking about something about Jesus right before we went to bed.
That's really great. And that again, I think, is one of the beauty of these kinds of trips, right? Because, just as we walk throughout our week, do we really have the opportunity to talk to our friends every single day about Jesus, right? And it's just a real encouragement. So one last question for you guys, and that is like, how about future plans, right? So any of you guys want to share what you're going to do in the future, or do you think that you would ever travel again? Or Jenna, let's start with you. Like, what are your future plans right now?
Well, I've always kind of just had the interest in missions, and this was like a good start to it. And I think in the future, definitely I'll try go on more missions trip, and maybe when I get older, maybe lead some, just depending on where God leads me with that.
Josh?
Definitely, if we ever do Arizona again, I'm definitely going to go again. It was a good experience. And, like leaving the country, I'm like, yeah. But, staying in the country, that was definitely nice.
And then I would say, like, honestly, like, I've always, like, had somewhat interest in missions because, like, my family's very, like, into that. Like, my mom's parents, my mom and my dad grew up in Thailand because both of their parents were missionaries. My dad's parents are Scott and Annette McManigle, who are, like, really big in missions here. And then, but honestly, just wherever God calls me, because like he knows best. But I would say definitely if there's any youth trips in the future, I definitely want to go.
Yeah. And so what would you say to your friends who maybe didn't go, or who are on the fence about this whole traveling with a bunch of teenagers thing? Like, what would you say to them, Jenna?
I would tell them it's totally worth it, and just to try it at least once, because the relationships you build from it and things you learn about God and others is just crazy.
Yeah. Josh, what would you say?
If like, it's a good experience, especially to be isolated, like, not be able to be on your phone or things like that. You really have to be connected.
You really have to be connected, not to your device.
Not to your device, to other people, right? And to anybody who's like, man, I'm not sure if I could lead a whole bunch of teens going across the country. It's like the teens really do the work themselves. But I don't know. You'd probably have to ask some of the leaders.
And
I would say just like give it a try, honestly. Like because like I don't think anyone can go on a trip and not like have some sort of impact on them. So I would say at least do it once, like Jenna said.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you very much for being willing to serve our body of believers here at Fellowship Bible Church, not only by going on the trip, but by being willing to come back and share your stories, because it is, you can disciple people older than you, right? So I think it's just a really great testimony to what God is doing in your lives and what God is doing in the lives of your families. So I'm anxious to hear more from you guys. So thanks for being part of today's episode. And for all our listeners, remember that we like to hear from you. So if you have any questions or you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with us about anything you hear here, please do that. If you know of anyone who hasn't checked out our Global Church podcast, remind them that they can follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever they get their podcasts.